Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Hello. All right, hello everyone. It has been a little while. Um, to that point, let me know you can hear me and see me okay, all the normal stuff. Gosh, it's probably been like a month now, right? Yeah. I took that snowboarding trip at the end of February just to kind of like recharge, clear my head for Laravel 13 release, and then basically when I returned, I needed to stay heads down and focused on the Laravel 13 shift, the release, kind of keeping up with everything to kind of make sure that that was all set for the 17th, and then of course on the 18th, that Wednesday, last Wednesday, I just needed again to kind of monitor shift, support shift, so forth like that. So now, just like everybody else, I am in upgrade mode. Now that I'm on the other side of the release, I'm in upgrade mode. Now, in fairness, I will admit, I don't upgrade LaravelShift.com, which is a Laravel application. I don't upgrade that immediately. I probably wait a few months. I do that for a couple reasons. First, the age-old reason, compatibility. Not all the packages, like Shift uses more packages, like the LaravelShift.com application uses more packages than something like Fast Laravel here. And so as such, like, I have to wait for them to have compatibility, to be honest. Despite me trying to send out all these PRs, you've probably seen them, all the Shift PRs, Laravel 13.x compatibility. You know, I send those out to try to help the community prepare. But, you know, there's life. People don't merge them. Maybe they have a downstream or an upstream dependency that doesn't have compatibility, so they gotta wait. Or honestly, packages just aren't as active as you think. Like, you gotta be careful. I don't want to say be careful. You gotta be mindful that when you choose to to use a package in your project, it is now ultimately your responsibility. Like, I appreciate that you gotta kind of got all the code for free, but you're ultimately responsible for how that dependency in your application. So if suddenly that upstream goes away, right, because the package is abandoned or whatever, you know, you still need that integration. You still chose to use that integration. So you have a choice now to find another package that hopefully is a similar API, or, as I said a minute ago, assimilate it, which is funny. I'm going to come back to that here in a second. But anyway, the point is, I'm on the other side of it. As far as LaravelShift.com, I do wait. First and foremost, because I need to wait on compatibility just like everybody else. But then two, you know, this is peak LaravelShift.com usage. I'm not gonna do the whole, you know, let's swap out the engine while we're driving it thing. Like, I don't want to risk any changes. I kind of do a code freeze. Like, this is my livelihood. It's how I make all my income. Like, I can't risk having it break for a day and, you know, at peak season when people are trying to use it. So for those reasons, LaravelShift.com I normally wait. But other sites like Optionality and Fast Laravel and Confident Laravel and like my course sites, all of those can be updated. So today we're going to use fastlaravel.com as an example to upgrade, because coming back to that package thing, I've checked it for compatibility. There was only one package that wasn't compatible. It's never compatible in the beginning. Every single year that I've used it, it's the Vimeo package. So I assimilated it. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But I got rid of it because I'm tired of waiting, and I only use it for like 2 or 3 API calls, and I don't need the freaking wrapper package. Yagni, baby. See you later. So we just got back down to the HTTP basic client. In fact, AI suggested like, oh, this isn't compatible. Like, I can change it to HTTP calls for it. I was like, okay, go ahead, Claude, get after it. You know, like, fine. I hate that package anyway. So let's talk about all that. Again, before we jump in, let's address the elephant in the room. With the Laravel 13 release, if we go to the upgrade guide, we still see Shift noted in here for the upgrade, but also now kind of this new section. They've included a skill with Laravel Boost that claims to do the upgrade for you. I use the word claims because that's kind of going to be the goal of this video. I want to demonstrate both. I want to demonstrate using both. I took a quick look at this skill. We've seen, if you're on Twitter, you've probably seen Pushback and the AI team, Nuno, talk about this skill. Pushback may be a little bit more in depth. It's basically a copy of the upgrade file in Markdown with some precursor to like set up the introduction of how the AI agent should behave. It's effectively if you went and copied this entire page as Markdown and dumped it into your prompt and told it to upgrade. So, again, it's a little more nuanced than that, but it's effectively copying in the upgrade guide. So, already with that at face value, like on the surface, if you've ever used Shift, you know that Shift goes way beyond the upgrade guide. It goes beyond, it does all the optional changes in here. It does more that I've curated while watching the upgrade. And again, the focus of the upgrade guide, especially in recent years, is more about compatibility than it was the upgrade. Ever since they kind of started doing these like impactful changes, instead of just like, here's what you need to change to be fully upgraded. If you go back and look at like the Laravel 6 upgrade guide, for example, very, very thorough, like super in-depth. Here's all the things to do to make your app look like Laravel 6 now, right? They don't really do that anymore. They kind of just say, oh, 10 minutes, bump these dependencies. Here's some big things that, to be aware of. But, even the impact, like low, to me, that's a high impact. Like if you were relying on your old env variables, like that's not low impact. Like your sessions in cache is going to be completely invalidated when you push 13 to production. That's every app probably uses sessions. Like, that's not low impact in my opinion. Anyway, we're getting on a little bit of a tangent. Let's just get in and see the code. Because, right, I'm kind of to the point of all this, like, it's always been challenging for for me to kind of sell Shift to developers that are going to DIY. They're going to DIY the upgrade. They're going to follow the upgrade guide or whatever. That's all totally fine. If you want to DIY, all for it. I like DIYing other things. But if you've ever used Shift, again, you know that it goes kind of above and beyond. So the distinction between these two tools is a little clearer to see, but it's one of those eureka things. Like, unless you've used it, you kind of don't know. And if you've got a pretty well-maintained, upgraded application, and you're recently on 12 and it's a super small project, like, yeah, this will upgrade you. But we're going to see, even on a small application like fastlaravel.com, which is like super small, it's basically a Stripe checkout flow and like a video dashboard. There's nothing really fancy about it. But we're going to see change-wise, like, I kind of looked at this earlier. Again, this is going to go through and bump my dependencies. This skill is going to go through and basically bump my dependencies, which is super helpful, I think. But Shift's going to change like, dozens of files and make my app look like it's running 13. So enough precursor. Again, let's see this in action. So I'm going to go out here and we're just going to run this. I've already marked this as pending, but basically this is going to run against fastlaravel.com. If you're not familiar with Shift at all and you're watching this, you basically come in, you provide your details, you go through the checkout flow, you hit run, and then this gets queued up in the background and it'll start, running here in a second. The whole Shift process, most applications, it's done in just a few minutes. Some are done in, seconds. But if you have a pretty big application where it's going to scan a lot of files and do a lot of like static analysis internally, it could take 4 or 5 minutes. But again, honestly, like, probably still faster than like Claude thinking and combobulating and all the little fun stuff it says in the corner. So to that point, let's jump back out to the command line. Let me cut another branch. And we'll say git checkout -b. We'll call it just the AI skill, right? Let's use the AI skill here. And Claude is kind of my model of choice. They claim to support others. I also do, it's worth noting, I do have a Claude Pro plan or subscription. So, that's kind of the other thing about this. And again, kind of the age-old challenge of Shift. A lot of people say, oh, well, Shift is a paid service. Well, absolutely, that's true. But so are these AI models. I mean, if you're going to upgrade, if you're going to run this skill, my guess is you probably need to have a paid model, or you're going to get rate limited. I really don't think you could do some of the I don't think you could use some of the free models like Kimi and so forth and have this work without getting rate limited. I'd be shocked. So you're still paying, I appreciate that you're using AI for more things than just the upgrade, so it's worth it. I'm not saying having a paid plan for AI is not worth it. It absolutely is. But I just want to point out that I do have a paid plan, so I don't think we're going to run up against any limits in running this. So now that we're on this other branch, let's let this is a Laravel 12 application. It's relatively recent. I think I ran Laravel new in like November, so it has a pretty high version of, again, Laravel 12. Again, to the point where a normal developer wouldn't think they're that far behind, right? I'm only technically speaking like probably 4 or 5 months behind. So let's run this Laravel upgrade bit here. Provide step-by-step instructions. So this is hula ballooning. Hula ballooing. So anyway, let's go back to the dashboard. That should... Why are we queuing forever? That seems strange. Let me go full screen here. Of course, when I want a demo, my like queue's backed up. All right, let's tell AI yes over here real quick while we're going. Let's just do all your stuff. I approve. Let's go full screen. Whoops, full screen me for a second. Where is full screen me? No. Why are you not full screen me? There we go. Full screen me. I don't know why my quick keys were not working. Sorry, everybody. Full screen me. I got to log into the server and see, like, is the queue just backed up? Like, are a lot of people running? I mean, it is true. A lot of people are running shifts lately. It shouldn't be that long, though. Let me jump into Horizon first and see what's going on here. Okay, my internal worker. Shift main, one process. Did it die? What are you doing? Oh my God, I got so many things in the way. Let me close the chat. Why are you still queuing? That doesn't make any sense. It actually says it ran. All right, I'm gonna pause Claude so we don't miss anything that it's saying. Let's see. I think something's going on with my pusher bit, because oh no, it is still waiting. What is going on here? What is the date? Why are you running so long? According to Horizon, there's no pending jobs. Something strange is going on here. There's always a tangent, you know? There's always ghosts in the machine. Okay, there I am. We got to perform shift delayed. Why are you delayed? Okay, so I am delayed. That is, everything is queuing. That is correct. The UI is correct. I'm going to run, just in the interest of time. Again, it is busy season for shift, so it's not ridiculous that I'm delayed a couple minutes on the queue. But in the interest of time, let me PHP artisan shift. I'll just run this. Let me beef up the. Let me just run this immediately because I can shortcut the queue. I can skip line, jump to the top of the queue here. Because yeah, again, this we'll see here in a second. The shift runs in like 29 seconds. All right, it's creating the PR. Yeah, 22.25 seconds. So yeah, I don't know why the queue's delayed like that. It doesn't seem like it's that full according to Horizon, but anyway, here we go. We got a PR now. All right, let me go back to all of us. There we go. Here's our PR. Okay, so just opened a second ago. So again, 8 commits, 19 files changed. Here's the bit we see here. So again, Again, if you're not familiar with Shift, you basically get a PR, you get these nice atomic commits to really kind of outline and educate all the changes that were made, and then these really, really like detailed, I curate these to try to give you the most information possible on like, how, what maybe happened that you might want to take more of a look at. And to that point, new in Laravel 13, and something I'm probably going to backfill to the other earlier shifts, is this new kind of summary drop down with AI. So for example, this one's talking about the new PHP attributes that are in Laravel 13. So Shift adopted those, but there's a handful of them where if you have kind of like complex or really long lines, it won't change them. So the most notable thing is like fillable. Like your fillable array and model can be huge. It can be like 20 fields. That looks to me a little bit strange inside of an attribute, especially because attributes are single line. They can't be broken across multiple lines. So Shift does not do that for those reasons as noted here in the comment, but if you wanted to, I give you a nice curated prompt where you can just copy paste this into Claude and keep automating, right? So this is a new feature in Laravel 13 that I'm probably gonna go analyze comments for older shifts and add these kind of things too, because I've always felt these comments where you have to check more things, even though it needs a human review, there are still parts that it could be automated. But that kind of goes back to the value of Shift. Shift is like, if Shift makes the change, it feels like it is 100% correct. It is deterministic. It will make this change every time you run this, all the time for any project. It's not kind of like up in the air contextual the way sometimes AI can be. So again, each one has its strong suit, and that's what I'm leaning into here. I don't want to be competitive. Like I don't want to like be, me versus it's Shift or AI. You can't use both. No, I think they actually go really, really hand in hand with each other. They work well together. So here's my kind of effort to kind of embrace that, because my goal is that you're fully upgraded and it's automated as much as possible. And if Shift can do 80% of that and 80-90% of that, and AI can do the last 10% or the last mile or even the last 1%, like awesome, right? Like that's what I want. So that's the ideal world, people. So anyway, let's go back to AI to that point. Okay, cool. So it developed a plan. It's got these things from the upgrade guide. So it's basically pin cache prefix. So we saw that in the or the low impact stuff. And then it's going to look at Composer and run the test suite. All right, totally fine. So yes, go ahead. All edits are fine. I'm just going to kind of trust this skill to do the thing in the background. So again, while the skill's running and we're saying yes, let's give this a nice thorough review. We got 19 files changed. Let's just kind of take a look at some of these things. So again, it's just like the skill, it's going to bump Composer, but it's also clearly doing a lot of other things. So let's take a look at that. So bumped core file, it just got rid of log files. Okay, that's fine. So that was just git ignore. Here's the biggest thing, again, are these new PHP attributes. So it's gone through anywhere in these core Laravel classes, and it's moved over any properties it can to these new pieces. So if we go look at something here, middleware is something, the console kind of commands are the biggest thing. And if you've looked at like Laravel core framework, they've been using these attributes for like a really long time, like probably since Laravel 10. So it's cool to see that they finally got made a convention. And to that point, that is what Shift is doing, right? If you go look at the docs for creating a command, we can do that. Let's just go look at the docs for creating a command. And my guess is their code samples inside the docs probably now use, or wait, did I go to the right spot? Package, oh, that's package development. We want is it artisan commands? Artisan console, yeah. What is so slow here? Everything's slow today. Writing commands, make command. Okay, yeah, so see, here's my point. Shift's goal is that your application looks and feels like Laravel 13. If you went to go write a console command in Laravel 13, this is the code sample you're gonna see. I want your commands in your application to look like the code sample when you're looking at Laravel 13, right? When you're looking at the docs. If you just run the skill, if you just upgrade by hand, if you just follow the upgrade guide, and this is true for the last several versions of Laravel, your code is not gonna look like these examples. That's as simple as I can say it. So that's what Shift did here. Made all that stuff look like my examples. Okay, this was a request deprecated. Okay, refactor deprecated request access. So Git is an underlying Symfony thing. Laravel actually never had that. It just kind of got passed along to the underlying Symfony request. They prefer you use input now. This is not even noted in the upgrade guide. This was noted in a PR that got reviewed by me as I was building the shifts, right? So again, this isn't even noted. You're going to get a bunch of deprecation warnings in when you go and deploy if you're using Git in your code. So this got swapped out. I haven't used Git in a very long time. I'm surprised it's actually in here, but again, Shift caught that. Awesome. All right, so we got some core files, some new env variables. Okay, so it just threw those in here. Again, helpful. You don't want to run into that along the way. I've seen people burn a lot of time on tests all of a sudden because like things are getting broadcast, but it should have been defaulted to null. Bumped all my well, not all my dependencies. Okay, here's an area where I think the skill really excels. Shift tracks about 5,000 community packages, and so I bump these based on their version. They're kind of like checked nightly, and the constraints are all figured out, and then they get bumped, right? So it does probably what needs to happen here on all of these, but it may have missed a few. And again, this is where I think the skill is pretty cool, actually. And that's not even really Laravel related, in my opinion. It's more Composer PHP general related. And I think that's a cool use for AI. I don't even think the skill does anything special there per se. But running the skill does a cool job of iterating through these. So I'm going to show that here in a second. NPM dependencies, same thing, just bumped Vite, no big deal. And then finally just some cleanup here. Looks like I had some arbitrary line breaks after I moved those attributes. So let's review the comments. We saw the fillable guarded thing. We can run that if we want here in a minute. Here's that cache prefix bit that both, again, AI, the upgrade guide, and now in the Shift comments, there's a prompt here for us to go have it do that. So maybe we can use this prompt here in a minute. That'll be fun. Default cache configuration, it talks about this new serialize class, just to make sure that if you are serializing full PHP objects into your cache, you need to check this particular bit. And again, there's an AI bit. Shift detected you're using pest. It bumped us to 4, but go check the upgrade guide. There's not much between 3 and 4, so I'm okay with this bump. It noted those again here explicitly. Hey, these bumped by a major version. Go check them out. Shift added Composer run setup with Composer run blah, 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 but you can customize this for your project. Cool. Same thing for run test. Laravel 13 changed the password reset mail subject from reset password notification to reset your password. Okay, I don't care about that change, but again, Shift is educating me. Congratulations, there's the end. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is in fairness, I want to get these tests passing, okay? So AI should be off in the corner, bumping my dependencies and making sure my test suite passes. Let's do the same on this branch. So again, to get that full comparison. So let's get this fully running, fully Composer, fully whatever. That's our benchmark, and AI is going to work towards the same benchmark, and then we'll see who did what and what changed on both sides, right? So let's copy this branch down. I'll open a new, yes, you can run Composer update. So it's in the Composer update part now. It's bumping dependencies. Again, this is where I think it's actually it does a pretty cool job there because it just it can churn locally and integrate, right? Like I can't do that on my build server because I might not be running PHP. I might not have the extensions your project needs, all sorts of reasons why Shift can't fully bump all of your Composer dependencies. So it's really cool that AI kind of goes through and can do that, right? So let's get into fast Laravel. Oh, this is where I need like a work tree thing. This is where I'm going to have to get into that whole work tree debate. I need to be able to check out a different branch, but I can't do that locally because it'll screw up AI. It looked like AI was almost done. Let's just let it, before I get into all that. Okay, cool, it's almost done anyway. Let's see what it said. 30 tests pass, upgrade complete, worked for 2 minutes and 32 seconds, so a lot of that was just waiting on me to say yes. So again, pretty quick in its own regard. Let's see what it said. It bumped these dependencies, pest to 4, bumped packages to 8x, transitively. I don't really know what transitively means. Breaking change mitigations. Added cache prefix Laravel cache to env to preserve existing cache prefix v13. Okay, cool. So we talked about how that was, in my opinion, a high impact change. So it caught that for me. No CSRF middleware references, queue event properties, patch. Okay, so it didn't find any of this other stuff. Now Shift does check for that stuff too, but it didn't find any of it. So it didn't do anything there. So again, you should also add cache prefix Laravel to your production env before deploying to avoid it. Okay, cool. So again, it too is treating that as a high impact change AI. So again, it's surprising to me the upgrade guide calls it low, because I feel like AI is going to find, it's going to say such thing on everyone's project. So this is done. Oh wait, no, I don't want to restore. No, what did I do here? Restore, enter to continue, escape to exit. I just want to, I don't know what it's asking about that for. Okay, so here's my point about the skill. Here's the original point about the skill. This is awesome. My Fast Laravel project is now compatible with Laravel 13. All my dependencies have been updated and my test suite still passes. That is the skill, that is AI's benchmark. It's done. It changed 3 files. I mean, yeah, it works. I'm compatible with Laravel 13. Am I really running Laravel 13 though? Like I am from a dependencies perspective, but again, if I go make a command and I jump back in, to the docs, my code doesn't look like the docs. Like my commands don't look like the code sample here. They don't follow the latest conventions of Laravel 13. I can see that one day and then I can prompt AI to do that. Of course I can. I can keep iterating. But you kind of have to know, you have to do all those things. You got to spend more time on it. You got to stumble upon it someday. That's really the core difference. Okay, 3 files changed versus, 19 files changed over here. And we're not even done with the envs because Shift doesn't have access to those. So, when we're done, I'm going to have 23 files changed. They're going to have 3. And most of it were the deprecated warnings there we talked about with request access. There's these PHP new attributes like... So there's the comparison, right? So was this cool? I love that it iterated through those composer dependencies. We're probably going to see when we check out the Shift branch, we might still be missing a composer dependency or 2. So I'm going to show you kind of my ideal workflow. But before we get into that, just to finish up with this AI skill, effectively 2 files were changed here, right? My env thing, which was a big impact in my opinion, and then really the composer lock and the Claude settings, which are innocuous, like those aren't really a change. They're an ancillary change of, the process, right? So anyway, all good here. Let's go ahead and do a git add dot. Let's do a git commit -m. We'll just say upgrade to Laravel 13. I'm going to push this up to GitHub just so in the end we can kind of look at the various PRs. So to that point, let's just go ahead and add this. We'll say upgrade to Laravel 13, totally fine. Create pull request. Okay, so now what I want to do is let's go check out this and get this in a green state too. So while this is getting pushed up, and let's make sure that all of these checks also still pass, right? So let's we check this out. First thing we want to do is run composer update. Let's see how good Shift did on its own, right? Okay, it did great. That is not the case for every project. I just want to be clear. That is not the case for every project. Some projects you won't have a clean single shot from Shift like that. It is going to say, oh, such and such, because I don't track everything. You might have internal packages. That is, again, where the skill, I think, does a great job. And that's where I personally would, if I ran into that, if I ran composer update and I just ran into that, honestly, I would fire up Claude and run the skill on the Shift branch. That's what I would do, personally. But it ran clean, so... We're going to do a git commit git add -u, git commit -m, composer update. Let's push that up. So again, that should hopefully, how did we, I think I reran this Shift from earlier. Let's start that over. That wasn't fair. Git reset --hard. What's up? Okay, yeah. Now let's run composer up. Let's run composer update again. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so it still runs clean in fairness, but we didn't have the latest code. So let's, closed too many windows. Okay, so good. In the background here, I can see that everything ran fast Laravel.com, git add dot, commit, git push. All right, there we go. So in the background, I can see on our AI skill branch, everything's green. Cool. So we are done with that. In fairness, it's now compatible with Laravel 13. My test, all benchmarks are saying you're running Laravel 13. Cool. 4 files changed. Again, 2 of those were meta files. So really just 2 files changed there. So I just pushed something up for this. Yeah, I think this will now be green, but let's take it farther. Again, the whole point of the shift one is that it's going farther. I want to do this one in Claude. So again, best of both worlds, best of Shift, best of AI, and potentially if I ran into an issue with Composer, I would have even used Laravel's skill because I think it is wonderful at that iteration. I don't even need to use a skill. I probably just could have prompted Claude to say, hey, I'm upgrading Laravel 13. Can you finish bumping my dependencies? Boom, there you go. All right, let's paste this in and see what it says. My hope here is that the prompt that Shift gave you will now also result in the same change that the skill did. And again, this isn't competitive per se. I want to make sure that the prompt I'm giving you puts it on that path as well. But I want to reiterate, I really think the best bit here would be using Shift and then going in and running that skill and then seeing where it landed. So, okay, let's take a look here. I'm upgrading to, okay, so sure, fine. Neither cache nor setting exist in your project, streamline, and your env has no cache, blah, blah, blah. You are relying on the old defaults with app, blah, 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 blah. So old derived values are, add these to your env to preserve behavior. Wonderful. There you go. A few notes. Redis prefix only matters if you're actually using Redis. So you're using cache store file and session driver file. So in practice, this prefix won't affect anything. Cache cookie is the most impactful. Changing it would log exactly what I said at the beginning of the stream. Cache prefix matters if you have persistent cache data you want to retain across the upgrade. Exactly. High impact. So to the point of AI, and in fact, a little more so than what the prompt told us, the prompt only changed this. But our prompt, Shift's prompt, is also noting the session cookie, which is big, in my opinion. I don't remember seeing that in the skill. It might have said it in fairness, but I think it only changed the cache prefix. We can go check the PR. Yeah, see, it only dumped the cache prefix. It did not add anything for session. So again, the contextual prompt that Shift is giving plus the changes it made resulted in a better suggestion, honestly. I don't know why the skill missed that. I do know it checks for it, so somewhere it determined I didn't need to set that, and that's wrong. I think people watching videos on Fast Laravel would have gotten logged out if I pushed this to production, honestly. So pretty cool. What else we got? Let's do one more prompt. That was good. I love these prompts. These are great. I know I'm not using that, so let's not waste our time on that one. You know what I might do is if you have dependencies that bump by a major version, I might throw a prompt in here. I might throw a more targeted prompt in here that says, hey, can you check these and see if they have, again, I think I didn't do that because AI, how is it going to reliably know all those things? I think it could be a good first pass. But again, it doesn't reliably know all those. I don't think there's really any other prompts in here to crank out. I mean, this would be the only other one. Let's see. Let's finish this real quick. Okay, so it wants us to add these. So let's just vi.env.dev. Or well, you know what? I don't want to leak anything. These are dev things, but there are Stripe and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to edit this. So I still need to make that change, but in fairness, AI told us what change to make, and I could have even prompted it to say, go ahead and add it. I probably should have done that in all honesty. So I'm going to proceed. as if we had made that change. But again, following what Shift provided. Let's do one more because this is kind of another big one, right? So let's see how it does here. I don't have that many models in here, so let's just see what it looks like. What I'm worried about is that it doesn't single line them. Oh, no, I added that. Make sure all collapse any multi-line arrays into a single line. Yeah. It messed that up the first time during testing. It didn't know. AI didn't know that PHP attributes couldn't be multi-line. Honestly, I don't even think I knew. Let me check the comments. Sorry, people. Jose from Peru. Hey, how's it going? Mahmoud, hello. Russ, thank you very much for Shifts. It's a real lifesaver to keep our production code up to date and not half upgrade and not half up. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Sorry, let's let AI do its changes and we'll review them on GitHub. Yes, what is going on here? Yes, just do it. Do it, AI, do it. I trust you. Oh my good God. Anyway, yeah. Thank you. Yes, not half upgraded. Yeah, again, it's tough. This AI skill, as a business, it kind of puts me on defensive, right? It's kind of like similar to the Tailwind and the Laracast stories that we heard at the beginning of the year. Like, this is going to impact business. It's inevitable. So I gotta roll with the punches, right? But I think that's what sometimes bothers me, and I think my guess is it probably is what bothers Adam with Tailwind or Jeffrey at Laracast. They're putting out good stuff, and I don't want to say I don't want to do like the AI slop argument, but my point here is like, if you're if you're prompting AI for half truths or something, and Jeffrey's over here making these really curated, in-depth, like fully fact-checked videos, I think for me, that's the painful part, right? Is like, if AI did a better job, if it truly did, as we've seen here, a better job than Shift, then whatever, that's life. That's evolution. I'm okay with evolution, right? I think what stings a little bit is, as we've seen here, like, developers, and it's the age-old thing, this predates AI. Developers, again, they DIY, they think they're upgraded. But they're not. They're not upgraded. They're not upgrading as thoroughly, and as completely as Shift always has. And I think if you use Shift, just like to the comments, you know that. But if you haven't used Shift, you kind of jump in here and you use this tool, and it's quick and it's fun and it's easy. And again, I think it's great that Laravel is providing this first party in a way that speaks to the value that Shift has provided the community for the last 10 years. It's indirect, but it speaks to it in my mind, because I do believe that this tool is something of value. And as such, I absolutely think it's valuable for the framework itself to offer it. But we've seen here Shift it blows it out of the water as far as the actual upgrade. And that's not like that's not on the team or anything. That's just the AI thing. So like, is AI going to blow Shift out of the water someday? Absolutely. Or is Laravel, honestly, what's really going to happen is Laravel's just not going to release breaking stuff soon. That's really the big kicker. It's easier for this tool to creep in and be used and think you're upgraded, because there's not a whole lot that's changed. You don't have to adopt these attributes, which is why they're not in the upgrade guide. But again, your code doesn't look like the examples, and that's the bar Shift has. Fully upgraded, like the examples in the docs, latest conventions, no deprecations. Like, that's its bar. It's much, much higher, and it always has been higher than if you followed the upgrade guide or if you just went and bumped your composer dependencies. And that's really all this tool is doing. It's checking for a few high-impact things out of the upgrade guide directly, and, as we've seen here, I really think the best, most automated upgrade path is running Shift and then either sending it through the skill and using the prompts, as we've just done, using the AI prompts that Shift now provides. I think that is just absolute winner of an upgrade path. So if that's worth 20 bucks to you, by all means, please check out Shift. If you got a small project, if you got no budget, all that stuff, I get it. Check out the skill. Again, I think it does a wonderful job at that iterating through the dependencies. If you're in dependency hell, like fire up that skill, absolutely. But we've seen that even some of the stuff listed in the upgrade guide, it didn't catch. That would scare me. I want something more thorough than that for the thing that makes me and my family money. If it made my business or my company money, I would want the absolute confidence that like not just my test suite is passing, but I'm fully upgraded and caught everything, and there's going to be no surprises, or at least less chance of a surprise in production. Okay, with all that said, let's see what it changed here. You know what? Let's just trust it. Git commit -m adopt. Let's just say adopt additional. Oh my gosh, if I could spell additional model properties. Git push. We'll just look at this up on GitHub. So first, we just kicked off a build, but there we go. We got a checkbox on our composer update. So we are now like benchmark compatibility wise, we are now the same as what AI has provided us. Let's check this too, but let's look at let's review the code changes that it did. Okay, so we now have fillable and hidden. Wonderful. I don't know. Oh, that was Pint. Okay, Pint did that. That's fine. So we got the other fillable stuff hidden. Also cool. Cool. All right. Yeah. So, if these tests pass, then again, I think we're in a place where both of these upgraded us to Laravel 13. I think we can see here that simply by the number of files changed, the kind of thoroughness, the educational aspect of Shift, to me that gives me, whoops, that's the wrong thing. It's this one. To me, that gives me far more confidence than this. 4 files changed, 2 of which were meta files, the Claude and Composer log file. And as we saw, and it sounds like Pushpack's going to jump in there and take a look. Thanks for joining the stream, Pushpack. But anyway, yeah, we saw that AI, while it did a wonderful job, I think, the skill did a wonderful job of iterating through my Composer dependencies and making sure all those were bumped and just go ahead and installing them because it has local access. That was awesome. And it did note the cache prefix to fix. But for some reason, it didn't catch session. I don't know why it didn't catch that. Again, Pushback seems like he's on stream. He's going to take a peek at that. I think that's a high impact change, honestly, Pushback, since you're here. I don't know if you've been here the whole stream, but that's noted as low. I know you might not have control over what's high or low, but it would just seem like to me every app, Laravel comes out of the box with sessions. I just feel like that's got to be high impact. This should really, I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So yes, I feel like at a minimum, the AI tool probably really needs to be super thorough in checking for that. So anyway, cool. Well, Mama, what's up? No AI will be better than Shift because it's always tools for tools. Yeah. Again, at the moment, AI is definitely going to be better than Shift at some point. Or again, Laravel's just not going to have a big enough change set where the Shift is quote unquote worth it. Because again, if Shift can't go above and beyond because there are not more changes, then the bars become equal. Shift bar gets lowered, right? Because it's just not doing more. There is no more to do. But for now, Shift in its own way is AI. It's collective intelligence. I have collected information about how people build Laravel apps across dozens of Laravel versions for the last 10 years. So yeah, I don't have an LLM and you're not prompting it to upgrade, but like it is still a form of artificial intelligence, just kind of in a brute force way. Like I'm always giving it more test cases, more things. When people send me, oh, hey, this also broke when I pushed to production. Wasn't your fault, but you might want to add it to a comment, right? Like, and I go make another comment on the PR. So, you know, that constant feedback loop that I've always had from the beginning of Shift is what has made it great, and is what I think has built the shifters, right? The Shift user base. And again, I think those people are pretty loyal because they just know the power of Shift still. So while I absolutely think the upgrade skill from Laravel is cool to see as part of the framework, again, to me, I've always believed that this is a valuable service. So the fact that it's now first party proves that it's a valuable service. But yeah, I think Shift, Shift still has a place. And we saw here the power of kind of using all three of these tools together. That's really what I want you to walk away with. So hopefully you keep shifting, but if not, at least you upgrade to Laravel 13. We'll keep the community fresh and clean. That is also the sub goal of Shift that I've always had. I can't use all the cool new features and SDKs and AI and Laravel Cloud and all that stuff if you're not running a recent version of Laravel, right? So I just never wanted there to be community drag, right? That was always a sub thing. I've been a PHP developer for almost 30 years. I've seen communities come and go because of the drag. I've seen communities be made fun of, like WordPress, for the drag of the community when they get far behind and they can't change. It's too sluggish. Laravel, again, is all about fresh, new, good vibes, modern adoption, all the new tools. Can't do any of that stuff if you're running Laravel 5.6, right? And PHP, 8 or 7. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining live. I hope to see you all next week. We'll probably kick some new projects or something like that. Pick up one of the old things I never finished from last year. So anyway, thanks again. See you all next time.